Looking for the best CPU cooler for the Ryzen 7 7800X3D? The 7800X3D is arguably the most impressive CPU for gaming out there right now. It features 8 cores, 16 threads, and has a TDP of only 120 watts, which means that it's a very efficient processor. Nevertheless, you still need a decent cooler to get the most performance out of it. In this video, I have handpicked the top 3 coolers for the Ryzen 7 7800X3D that balance performance, value, and respectable noise levels. All details, including prices and links for the CPU coolers, are right down in the description. So let's get started. Number 3. Deepcool AK620 Zero Dark, best budget CPU cooler for the Ryzen 7 7800X3D. One of the most impressive things about the Ryzen 7 7800X3D is that you don't need to spend hundreds of dollars to get an adequate CPU cooler for it. Deepcool AK620 is one of the best dual-tower air coolers around, and it is very reasonably priced. It offers excellent cooling potential, low noise levels, and low price compared to the higher-end air coolers. If performance is all you care about, this is all you need. It is available in a white color in the form of the AK620 White, and in a grey-black color scheme in the form of the standard AK620. However, the Zero Dark version is the one that's the most neutral, and will look good in any build. Deepcool's ideology with this cooler is simple. They want to give Noctua a run for their money, and with the more affordable pricing, their attempt is very commendable. In terms of performance, it rivals the results you'd expect out of the Noctua NH-D15. Considering that the NH-D15 is almost 50% more expensive, this result is nothing short of impressive. AK620 Zero Dark manages to achieve this performance via the dual-tower design that makes use of 6 heat pipes. It's coupled with 2 FK120 120mm fans, each of which is rated for a maximum of 1,850 RPM. It also features a raised copper cold plate that maximizes heat dissipation. It's rated for processors with a maximum TDP of 260 watts. As such, it's powerful and performant enough to handle the likes of the 7950X3D and the 14900K. Rest assured, the 7800X3D is no problem for this impressive CPU cooler. So far so good, but what about noise? Well, AK620 Zero Dark offers impressive noise levels that won't make your ears bleed. The corners of both fans have noise-dampening pads that keep the acoustics in check. Under full load, you can expect a maximum of 28 to 30 decibels, and that's the worst-case scenario. In an everyday gaming use case, the fans won't go higher than 40 to 50% with the 7800X3D. The result is a near-silent dual-tower air cooler. Memory clearance isn't all too bad either. You can fit RAM kits with a maximum of up to 43mm in height, so most RAM modules will fit in nicely. Still, there are single-tower air coolers that offer even better memory clearance. One of the downsides is that it has no A-RGB lighting. Some might like that aspect, but it might be a deal-breaker for others. Putting all of that together, the AK620 Zero Dark is the best budget CPU cooler for the Ryzen 7 7800X3D. There are other options around this price range, such as the Noctua NH-U12S and the Scythe Fuma 2, but they cannot compare to the AK620 in terms of performance, even though they do offer quieter noise profiles and even better memory clearance. In short, if your case can fit a dual-tower air cooler and you don't have problems with memory clearance, this is one of the best air coolers around. I highly recommend it at this price, and it's a great option for the 7800X3D. Our ratings: design and aesthetics, 9 out of 10. Cooling performance, 9 out of 10. Noise, 9 out of 10. Installation, 8 out of 10. Value for money, 9.5 out of 10. Overall rating, 9 out of 10. Before moving on to the next CPU cooler, it would really help us continue making more videos if you support us by just hitting the like button and subscribing, or even with a comment so we know if you like it or if there's something we can do to improve next time. I promise, it costs nothing, just a few seconds. Number 2. NZXT Kraken Elite 360 RGB, best premium CPU cooler for the Ryzen 7 7800X3D. If you're in the market for a high-end liquid cooler, the NZXT Kraken Elite 360 RGB is an excellent option. NZXT has been making AIOs for quite some time, and their new Kraken Elite 360 promises to deliver premium thermal performance that is capable of handling AMD and Intel's flagship CPUs. On top of the great performance, it has great looks, low noise levels, and premium fans. Additionally, it has its fair share of revisions. You can also get it with either a 240 or 280mm radiator, and both of those options are cheaper than the 360 version. Of course, if you're looking for the best possible performance, the Elite 360 is the best choice. It's also available in a non-RGB version, which is slightly cheaper. Compared to the previous generation of Kraken coolers, the Elite 360 looks very familiar. It's available in all black and all white versions and marks the return of the LCD display. This time around, the TFT LCD display is a 2.36-inch panel with a 640 by 640 resolution. It has a 60Hz refresh rate and good brightness. Of course, you can use the NZXT's CAM software to change what's displayed on the screen. You can even upload your image, GIF, or video. The customization possibilities are endless. Now, onto performance. The NZXT is using Asetek's 7th generation pump technology, which delivers excellent reliability and performance. The pump's motor speed is rated at 800 to 2800 RPM, so it packs plenty of power to tame any CPU, including the Ryzen 7 7800 X3D. As for the fans, NZXT is using its own F120P blower fans with fluid dynamic bearings. NZXT stands behind the durability of these fans and the pump with its 6-year warranty. In terms of cooling performance, the Kraken Elite 360 has no problem handling a chip like the 7800 X3D. At idle, you can expect temperatures of 40 to 45 degrees Celsius. At max load, you can expect anywhere from 75 to 80 degrees Celsius, depending on how intensive the workload is. This is well within the normal operating temperature of the CPU, and it compares well against similarly priced AIOs. So it's safe to say that it leaves a lot of thermal headroom for any CPU. Even with overclocking, thermal throttling won't be much of a problem. The only problem here is the price, as many similarly priced coolers offer nearly the same level of performance. For example, the main competitors here are the Corsair H170i Elite Capolix 420mm and the Lion Li Galahad 2 Trinity Performance. Both of these coolers offer near identical performance to the Kraken Elite 360, and both are slightly cheaper. However, there are a few reasons why the Kraken Elite 360 is better. For one, it has a more compact radiator with a thickness of 27mm. This means it'll fit into cases easier than the H170i Elite Capolix, which has a 420mm radiator. As for the Galahad 2 Trinity, there have been quite a lot of issues with reliability. NZXT's cooler won't have this problem, and it's using a tried and true Asetek pump. Finally, the Kraken Elite 360 is very quiet. Even when spinning at max speed, the fans don't get too loud at all. NZXT did a great job of tuning these fans to near perfect noise levels, so while the pump is powerful, it doesn't get too noisy. It's one of the more silent options out of the other comparable high-end AIOs. It's an excellent CPU cooler that looks great, performs well, and doesn't get noisy at all. It's just that it might be a bit overkill and out of the budget for some builds that revolve around the Ryzen 7 7800 X3D. If you can stomach the price and are going with a high-end build though, it's one of the best options out there. Our ratings: design and aesthetics, 9 out of 10. Cooling performance, 9 out of 10. Noise, 9 out of 10. Installation, 8 out of 10. Value for money, 8 out of 10. Overall rating, 8.5 out of 10. Number 1, Arctic Liquid Freezer 3 280 A-RGB, our top choice. Considering its competitive pricing, the Arctic Liquid Freezer 3 280 A-RGB is arguably the best 280mm liquid CPU cooler on the market. It blends superb performance, value, low noise levels, and great looks in an aggressively priced package. While it's affordable, the CPU cooler is anything but cheap. It's an almost enthusiast-grade cooling solution at a fraction of the price. Let's get the basic stuff out of the way first. This CPU cooler consists of a 280mm radiator and two 140mm Arctic P-Series fans. These are high-pressure static fans that are specifically designed for AIO coolers, and the fan speed is rated at 200 to 1700 RPM. As for the pump, it's not using an Asetek pump. Instead, Arctic is using its own efficient PWM-controlled pump that outperforms a lot of options on the market. And this is where things start to get interesting. The Liquid Freezer 3 has many new features over its predecessor, the Liquid Freezer 2. For starters, it includes an Intel LGA 1700 contact frame that replaces the standard ILM. Of course, we're not talking about Intel right now. For AMD, Arctic decided to include offset mounting hardware. This shifts the cooler by 5mm to better cover the hotspot of the processor. For the average consumer, this might be a bit technical, but for a high-end CPU like the Ryzen 5 7800X3D, even the slightest bit of extra cooling matters. The ingenious offset mounting hardware paired with its own pump performs exceptionally well under high temperatures. It does a great job of keeping the CPU in check under intensive loads. These crafty solutions are one of the reasons its predecessor was so well received. Speaking of which, the VRM fan is back, and it's bigger than before. If you remove the pump cover on the Liquid Freezer 3, you'll find that inside is a large fan that helps to cool the voltage converters on the motherboard. Again, this was a feature present on the Liquid Freezer 2, but it's more effective here because of the larger fan. This 280mm cooler is capable of outperforming some 360mm coolers on the market, and that's saying a lot. At this price, there are other options like the Kraken X53 and the highly reliable Coolmaster ML240 RGB V2. Both options are easier to install, but the Liquid Freezer 3 is arguably the best looker out of them all, and performs better than all of its competitors, especially when it comes to noise levels and durability. However, make sure you check out Arctic's CPU Cooler Compatibility Checker to see if the cooler will fit properly on your motherboard or not, as the pump of this cooler might block the first M2 slot if your SSD has an oversized heatsink. To conclude, this is an ingenious CPU cooler. You're getting a CPU cooler that delivers impressive performance at a very reasonable price, and that makes it my top choice for the Ryzen 7 7800X3D. Our ratings: design and aesthetics, 9 out of 10. Cooling performance, 9 out of 10. Noise, 9 out of 10. Installation, 7 out of 10. Value for money, 9.5 out of 10. Overall rating, 9 out of 10.